Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. I apologize for being a few minutes late, but we'll get started now. Would you please call the roll?
Archie. Baronis.
Present.
Bolin.
Present.
Gathing.
Present.
Johnston.
Present.
Barrett.
Present.
Williams.
Present.
Thank you. All present, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, we'll move right into the superintendent's report.
We currently have developing capacity coaching teacher experience survey results. Dr. Fisher will be presenting the results and making recommendations to the board for, what we should consider going forward. So I'll turn it over to Dr. Fisher. And can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Okay,
I
good.
can hear you. Hello, everybody. My name is Dr. Denise Fisher. I also would like to introduce our Senior Impact Advisor, Dr. C.G. Heiser. She will lead the bulk of our time together. I just wanted to open us up. I wanted to start off first and foremost by thanking you, Dr. Walters, for your partnership with Developing Capacity, your commitment to taking what we started with a year and a half ago with a climate assessment and really going full speed ahead with us and several of our affiliates on how to begin to address some of the equity challenges within the Kankakee School District. I also want to thank the board for your partnership. Welcome to the new board members. I want to thank former board chair Barbara Wells as well for her partnership in this work. And I wanted to just quickly share with you an overview of the totality of our work that we have been honored to do with the Kankakee School District before Dr. Heiser leans into the Teacher Experiences Survey. The Teacher Experiences Survey first came up in September of 2021 when I was leading a board retreat with the former board, Deb Johnston. I can't see Deb, but I know she's on the other side. Wanted the board to begin to think about how can we address the needs of teachers and how can we take a robust look at that. Dr. Heiser met with the board and developed a set of questions from there, and we embarked on this process. In your emails, there should be a couple of documents. One is a document that's titled KSD Scope of Work. This lays out the entire bulk of work that we did with Kankakee School District. Starting with assessment and action planning, we began, like I said, in 2021 with the climate assessment. We also conducted several assessments with our work to measure our impact, but also to measure the learning of the teachers, the administrators, and the staff that participated in our program. Dr. Heiser also completed an equity impact evaluation that looked at our interventions and the interventions of Kankakee School District to begin to see where gains were being made to adhere to your mission, which was to create a school district where all kids have everything that they need, and the stakeholders are marshaled around that effort. We also spent some time in an area that we call Conscious People, where we did leadership development and equity training with the board. The board actually completed its own equity purpose to practice and voted on it in March, so we hope that you will continue to move forward with that. We also did a series of leadership and management workshops with the administrators in the district. We also did some support with curriculum and instruction. We conducted workshops in the fall and in the spring with teachers, conscious teaching for equity. We also conducted a series of equity one-on-one workshops with secretaries, support staff, maintenance workers, and cafeteria staff. And I just want to pause here to applaud the district for that effort, because it is rare, one, that a school district embarks on such a robust commitment to equity, but one in which you choose to engage your frontline staff. And what we heard in the sessions with maintenance workers, support staff, secretaries, cafeteria staff, that they felt valued, they felt seen, they felt heard, and they were appreciative that the district invited them into a professional learning session. And we witnessed some deepening of relationships amongst those teams in the session, of feeling like they had a space cultivated where they could talk about different and talk about what does it mean to honor the humanity of each other in a world that's deeply polarized. So I really want to applaud the district for that, amongst many other things. We provided a set of recommendations to the Assistant Superintendent, Shamika Fountain, on looking at recruiting a diverse staff, retaining staff, hiring, and some recommendations for a bias reporting system. Shamika Fountain was great with giving us a sense of what was happening in the district, and then we were able to make some recommendations from there. We also did a series of workshops with the board, which many of you participated in, and it was, great to be on that journey with you. We also conducted 2 workshops with youth empowerment leaders, and then we provided one-on-one leadership coaching for principals, assistant principals, superintendent team, and the curriculum and instruction team. So that was the robust nature of our work with you. Again, I want to applaud the district, because many people run from equity work, but Kankakee School District, sat down and they said, let's do this work together and let's partner. And it was a robust agenda, and I'm really proud of the district for including us, as well as several other partners like Equal Opportunity Schools and PNTP in your efforts to create a more fair, just, and equitable school system for all kids. I will turn it over to Dr. Heiser to get into the meat of this, which is the teacher experience survey. One of the things that we would ask is that if you would allow her to go through her few slides, which are highlights. You have a copy of the full report to read through. But if you have any questions along the way, if we could hold those to the end so she could get through the report, and then we have some time scheduled for Q&A. Does that sound good?
Yes, to me.
Okay. And I see Chris as board chair. Congratulations, and Jess, congratulations on your election.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. So for those of you who have been with the board, you were a part of this conversation, and so now you're just reaping the fruits of your labor, right? So we had a conversation many months ago about what would you really like to explore around teacher experiences. And the following topics emerged. So teacher workloads and skills, teacher respect and support, burnout, student interactions, parents and community, school and district leadership. And so we conducted this study earlier this spring at the top of the year. 130 teachers started the survey, 89 completed it, and so we chose to focus on completed responses. The responding population was predominantly white. I'm looking over to my right where I have the full report up to tell you the specific demographics. So let's see, 77% of the responding population was white, 11% was Latino or Hispanic, 5% was Black or African American, and most respondents, 56%, have been with KSD and teaching for more than 10 years. So these are the topic areas covered. That's the responding population in sum, and we're going to talk a little bit about the key findings. Overall, the key findings fell into 4 large buckets: culturally responsive teaching and equity, teacher burnout and attrition, teacher perception, and teacher and district leader relationships. And so we're going to go through each of these findings and show you some of the supporting evidence. Again, you have a 16-page report that you should have received today. And so that goes into much more detail about each of the findings. We're going to do a high-level overview tonight. The first finding is that teachers respond more favorably to concepts of culturally responsive teaching than they do to equity. But what we know is that culturally responsive teaching is necessary for equitable outcomes in the district. So there's 2 core findings I want you to take away from this slide. The first is that where you see dark red is where we are talking about culturally responsive teaching, and where you see light pink is where we are talking about equity concepts. And so you see that there's a difference here, a clear delineation when we're talking about cultural responsiveness as opposed to equity. Something else to note here is the second finding, which is that while the teachers feel that the district administrators value culturally responsive teaching, they don't necessarily feel like this is being role modeled or that the environment is culturally responsive. As a point of clarification, when we're talking about district administrators, we're most often talking about the superintendent, the assistant superintendent, but also principals and assistant principals. We very rarely ask questions that would allow us to just talk about one or two people, so we're very mindful of that. Those are the two core things that I want you to take away from this slide. The next slide, is that 62% of teachers are facing burnout, and they're citing workloads, accountability, and lack of support and respect as reasons. And so teachers, what you're seeing to the left here is that some of the findings in the open-ended comments when we ask teachers to describe in their own words their experiences. And you have that right up against the closed-ended questions that we asked them where we just said, how much do you agree with this statement? So to the left, you see that teachers describe the near constant increase in administrative or non-teaching related responsibilities as the leading cause of burnout. To the right, you see some of the specific questions that we asked. So 58% of teachers said that their teaching requirements are manageable. 57% feel comfortable asking district administrators for help. 51% feel like they have the support they need to teach students for their classroom. And 44% feel like when they ask for help, they get it. So in this same theme of teachers and burnout, the next topic is that for teachers, they feel that students are not held accountable for their actions, and that is leading to their burnout. So 56% of teachers said that they feel supported in how they address disruptive behaviors of students, while teachers and school leaders, while they also 36% said that they felt that other teachers and school leaders are comfortable holding others accountable. So they're naming this idea of accountability being a challenge for them as well as others in the school environment. And finally, they spoke about support and respect. And what I want you to take away from this slide is that teachers in the open-ended comments and in the closed-ended questions really talked about a lack of support and respect across the district. It wasn't isolated to a specific group. When we asked about the community, they didn't feel supported. When we asked about support from parents, they didn't feel supported. In the open-ended comments, they talked about really struggling with creating or feeling respected by students and other professionals. And so this is a really important thing to the teachers, is this idea of feeling supported and feeling respected as professionals. The next topic that we saw was that teachers really believe that they work to support student success and make each student feel celebrated. So to the right, you're seeing these phenomenal responses of 100%, 99%, 97%. These are teachers saying, I agree or strongly agree that I have high expectations for my students. I believe each student can be successful. I work to create interactions that demonstrate care and respect. I create environments that honor the identity of all students. I work to make my students feel celebrated. So they're really sharing how they feel they are working as teachers, the efforts they believe that they are putting into the classroom and into the students. So these are closed-ended questions, right? These are questions where we are giving the teacher a scale and they're picking their answer. When we got into the open-ended questions, and we asked teachers to talk about what are their biggest challenges facing teachers, what are the biggest challenges facing students, what solutions do they recommend to those challenges, we really started to see some references that started to flag for us as we were coding. So as I read across all of the open-ended comments, something that started to emerge was that the way teachers were talking about students and student success was really deficit-oriented. They were talking, in some cases, there were comments around students just don't want to work hard. Hard work is gone. They're not motivated. The second they hit a barrier, they stop. They don't want to try to work through it. We have students that have multiple generations of parents and family members who don't care about education. So we're seeing teachers start to name that they're really not sure in the open-ended comments. They weren't really feeling like students have what it took to be successful. But then when we ask these quantitative questions, these closed-ended questions, 99% of teachers say they believe each student can be successful. So how teachers talk about it in their own words is really different and led to the conclusion that there are some comments that suggest a deficit mindset in teachers. The last finding is that there's significant opportunity to improve teacher perceptions of leadership effectiveness across the district. So when we ask teachers, do district administrators care about you? 32% said they agree with that statement. When we asked them how effective, we gave them response options of 1 to 10. And so 10 was like extremely effective, 1 was like extremely ineffective. And so for the teachers who responded, we lumped together the responses of 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So that's like, you know, the higher end of the scale of effectiveness. And 56% of teachers chose a 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10 to describe the effectiveness of the school. 29% chose that to describe the effectiveness of the leadership of the district, and 24% chose this to describe the effectiveness of the board. So the last 2 things that we want to share with you are how DCC has been working with Kankakee around equity initiatives. We're sharing this with you because we know a lot of this data is hard to see and maybe hard to process, but some of our core values are love and healing along with equity and justice. And so this to us speaks to hope and speaks to the possibilities and the opportunities that are prevalent in Kankakee School District when we prioritize love, healing, and relationships with one another. So our collaborations with Kankakee and developing capacity coaching have led to shifts towards self-accountability for equity, understanding bias, adjusting policies for equity, and shifting mindsets across the organization towards equity. So when we ask the coaches, the people who've been working one-on-one with individuals across the district, what are they seeing? So we did not ask them for any details because we don't want to betray anybody's trust or confidentiality. We just said, are you noticing shifts? Are you noticing growth? What are you noticing? And they share back, and so what you see on the left is a summary of what the coaches are saying about their one-on-one interactions. When they're reflecting on their journey with Kankakee, the team members noted shifts in growth and understanding of power and choice, self-awareness around deficit and asset mindset, reflections on white supremacy and how that's interacting with the school system and student success, and reflections on becoming agents of change. To the right, we did 2 series of conscious teaching for equity. Over 90 teachers gave us feedback on the second series. These are responses from those teachers. So we're asking teachers, do you feel like you have a stronger sense of equity? And they're telling us they do. They know how to apply engagement strategies, and even more than knowing that, they're telling us they're willing to use new strategies like community building and team building. We're also seeing teachers tell us that they're more willing to hold themselves accountable for equity in the district. When we worked with, we've worked with frontline staff, we've worked with leadership, we've worked with teachers, and we've worked with students. And what we're seeing is that people at each level of the organization are ready and excited and empowered to create change and advance equity. So 98% of your frontline staff showed up and said, hey, I now feel like I understand how bias creeps into the workplace environment. 95% of your frontline staff are saying, okay, I'm going to make a choice now that I understand how bias shows up. I'm going to make a choice to try to create more equity in my everyday work. 100% of the leadership who participated in our sessions and responded and gave us feedback said that they'll hold themselves more accountable for educational equity after our leadership and management workshops. When working with students, 89% of students told us that they feel more, after coming to one of these empowerment workshops, they felt more confident that they could make a difference in their environment after attending these empowerment programs. So we're seeing across the organizational structure that people really are empowered to feel like they can be the change agents for the district, that it does not rest solely with district administrators or the board. They're recognizing their own role and how to create the district that everyone is hoping and reaching for. I'm going to stop here and go back to Dr. Fisher. Dr. Fisher's been working with you for almost 2 years, and so her recommendations span all of the work that she mentioned earlier, the teacher experiences survey, as well as some of the additional equity evaluation work that we've been doing with Dr. Walters and her team. Denise, do you want me to leave this slide up? Yes, I think
Thank you. Yeah, we can move that. So one quick note that I wanted to add before I go into the recommendations is part of why we begin to see some shifts in the teacher perspectives as it relates to equity and engagement is that we were able to have the benefit of the teacher experiences survey results before Dr. Munoz and Anthony Curtis went in to do the second teacher session. So they actually designed that conscious teaching for equity the second time around, trying to address some of those things that we noticed from the experiences survey. So the deficit mindset, the building relationships, the engagement, they actually led them through a series of activities that they could actually do in class with students, but also begin to clarify culturally responsiveness, equity. So we responded to the real-time data that we got from the teacher experiences survey, which we saw came out in the results. So for the recommendations, if you have the packet in your email, you can pull it up on your iPad because the font is difficult for you to see. The first thing we want to say is continue to be unapologetic about the advancement of equity and growing your impact. Again, I will say this, in a world that's deeply polarized and deeply divisive, I think it's incredibly important for school districts to continue to want to ensure that every young person that comes through their walls has full access to benefit from the resources in the district, equal access to benefit from the resources. Equal access means that we begin to eliminate some of the racial disparities. And so I want to continue to encourage Kankakee School District to move forward with this work because you are making gains, and we saw that from our perspective in the work. The second thing is we recommended that they hold district-wide meetings with teachers to clarify curriculum and the teaching and learning standards and expectations for that curriculum. And it's not that teachers don't understand what they need to do in the classroom, is we recommend sharing the why behind the equity changes. And I know that has been done, but as Barbara Wells used to say, you have to share something 5 times for people to really get it. And so I think it's important to continue to share the why behind defined learning, the why behind youth empowerment, the why behind the conscious teaching for equity, the why behind equal opportunity schools, and also to report the gains. So sometimes we share the why, but we don't share where we're making movement towards closing those gaps. So we recommend that the district report the gains and the continued areas of growth for students, staff, and the community. What we find with partners is that when you share the gains, it serves as an extra motivator and boost for people to continue in the work. If anyone is, I'm sure there's some educators in the room, to move a student a percentage point can be a Herculean effort. And so being able to celebrate that and also share that out can improve morale so that people can see all of these different things that they're doing to move the needle, that it is working, it is happening, and to encourage them to continue doing it. The third high-level recommendation we had was to partner with the Kankakee Federation of Teachers and an external equity firm to really begin to build a program for what does it mean to create a caring, inclusive, and equitable teaching learning environment. And, we felt strongly about this as the representative body of teachers in Kankakee, them coming alongside with the district and someone who's skilled in equity work to say, what does caring and inclusive and equitable teaching look like in Kankakee School District will be a great way to improve morale, but also a great way to get teachers buy-in. I'm sure that there are best practices that teachers are doing on the ground that we won't ever see or be able to capture in a survey, but to be able to gather their collective genius and have them be engaged in the process of setting this vision will, contribute to what we talk about in the 5 practices of exemplary leadership, which is inspiring a shared vision. And within that, after creating whatever that caring and inclusive and equitable teaching environment would look like for Kankakee School District, we recommend continuing to host equity and inclusion training for teachers. Another thing that we thought was really important was to host listening and learning sessions with students and their families So this survey gives us the teacher perspective, but we do not have the perspective of young people and their families. And so we think that's really critical as you're continuing to do equity work or continuing to make interventions to close the racial disparities, the English language learner disparities, and the disparities of folks who come from various socioeconomic backgrounds. Hearing from those that are directly impacted is really critical. The fourth thing we have here is we did some work with the district administrators, so the principals, system principals, and district staff to create their equity purpose of practice. And I was really proud of the administrators as we created over one session and came back and revisited over a second session. And they really came up with some, profound perspective on why the district should center equity and what those principles should be. So we encourage sharing that information out with everyone again so that people can begin to understand the why behind this work, but also be able to see that their building administrators have been thinking about this topic. And not to say that they're not, but as a whole, as a collective, they've thought about what that vision could be for the district. The fifth thing that we noted is there is a need to continue to do deeper healing and reconciliation work, both at the school building level and the district level, and in particular by someone that's skilled in racial healing. Every community that we go into is a microcosm of the world, and Kankakee School District has its own challenges with race and equity, but also the town has its own challenges with race and equity. In fact, when we did our first frontline training, some of the staff members came up to us and said, and this was the day that we did the cafeteria workers and the secretaries, and they said, you know what, we need to do this across our city. We need to do this with everybody because we need to talk about the issues of race in our community. And the way we were able to talk about it in a way that wasn't attacking, that wasn't threatening, that people heard each other out, and we got to the basics of being equitable is honoring someone's humanity, honoring that everybody has the right to be heard, seen, and respected on a baseline level. So we do encourage the district to continue that work. It's not lost on us. We have, a district where we have a Black female superintendent, a Black associate superintendent, and we have, several, Black administrators. We also have white administrators, but we also notice the racial tensions throughout. And I think it's important for the group to continue to actually talk about race, because you can't address race if you don't talk about it. And to do it from a healing and reconciliation perspective, which means we're engaging in this conversation, we're engaging in this work, not to shame you, not to blame you, but because we want to foster a world where all of us can feel heard, seen, and respected, and to honor each other on the base level. So we think that's really important for the district to continue to do, and to work with people who are more reconciliation-based, because I think they're going to get you towards the goal of fostering deeper unity. And the last piece is to streamline programmatic efforts and data collection related to program outcomes. And Dr. Heiser maybe can speak to this a little bit better than I can, but as we begin to roll out programs, you can measure a lot of different things. What's the clear indicators that you want to measure? And CG, I'll turn it over to you if you want to take that bullet point, and then we'll open it up for Q&A.
Absolutely. So this is really just saying, pick 1 to 2 programs that are having an impact and really focus on those efforts if you're able to, and come up with really clear metrics of success, metrics that matter to the district. And I know that you have different reporting standards and testing that you participate in. So are there measures that you can draw on that already exist that will show you that you're making progress in the indicators that you are trying to impact with your program? But really focusing those efforts and making sure you have clear data collection strategy to show the impact of those efforts where possible. Denise, do you want to add anything else?
No, I think we're done. We tried to be as high level as possible for what came out most in the report, but we just wanted to open the floor if people had any questions or comments that we could answer for you. And again, thank you for your partnership.
So do any of the board members have a question?
I do have.
Ms. Johnston?
There was 89 faculty members, teachers that completed this. Was this open to the whole district or just the high school?
No, it was open to everybody.
What? I didn't understand you.
It was open to everybody. Each teacher could participate. It was not just the high school.
Okay, thank you. That's not good. Why 89 people?
Anybody else have a question?
That's horrible.
Well, we appreciate the information. It's going to be very valuable, even with the participation that we have, to pursue in terms of pursuing one of our district goals, which is teacher retention and talking about recruiting new teachers. But it's solid information. It's very thorough. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. It was our pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you all for the opportunity. Have a great night.
Thank you, Dr. Fisher.
Bye.
Miss you?
Okay, moving along.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
That's the machine.
Say goodbye to the machine. Moving along in the superintendent's report, we have instruction.
We're going to have Jenny Way to come up and talk about the new teacher project. We are going to be recommending at the next board meeting that we develop a partnership with TNTP. The cost will be around $300,000. We felt like it was important to actually explain the rationale for the partnership and the why before we present the recommendation at the next, probably the June board meeting. But I do want to explain a little bit what TNTP is. TNTP, the New Teacher Project, did an assessment of the percentage of grade level materials that is provided to our students in 2019. At that time, the percentage of grade level materials provided to our students was 30%. Now, I just want to point out that you cannot hold students accountable for testing at grade level when they're not being taught at grade level. Now, last year, we were above 70%, so that's huge progress. The teachers worked really hard. There was an accountability system, and we focused on making sure that our grade level assignments are as close to, it's never going to be 100% because that's unreasonable, but as close to 80% as possible. And we were able to get there last school year. Last school year was the first year we were able to get there. We are continuing to monitor our students' access to grade level materials. We continually collect data in all of the buildings around grade level assignments for reading and math. We are required through the Illinois State Board of Education to have an Illinois Empower Learning Partner. And to us, once TNTP was approved as a learning partner, it made sense to partner with TNTP. So although that in aggregate, it's $300,000, there are, four to six schools that are in designation that are given additional school improvement money to contribute towards that cost. It is a requirement that we have an Illinois Empower Learning Partner, but we just wanted to make sure before the recommendation came before you, you understood a little bit more of what TNTP is going to do and why the cost is on paper significantly high, but it is a partnership that is required and will work across all of our buildings.
Good evening, board members, Dr. Walters, colleagues, and parents, families, and community. I wanted to take this opportunity to update you on the work of TNTP this year and to thank you.
Just wait just
Okay.
a minute so everybody can hear you. Now I think you're good. Thank you.
Thank you. I wanted to take the opportunity to update you on the work with TNTP this year and also to thank you for your support of high-quality instructional materials, grade-appropriate assignments, and strong instruction. Our partnership with TNTP began after the publication of the Opportunity Myth, which addressed the disconnect nationwide between student aspirations and achievement. When surveyed, it found that 94% of students aspired to end college, but they were not prepared for the rigor. Not only did they find that students have high goals, but also that 71% of students were succeeding on their assignments. However, on those same assignments, only 17% of students were actually meeting the grade level standards. They found that of the 180 classroom hours in each core subject during the school year, students spent 133 hours on assignments that were not grade appropriate. Even though most students were meeting the demands of the work given to them, they are not prepared for college-level work because those assignments don't give students the chance to reach for that bar. TNTP found that students spend most of their time in schools without access to 4 key resources. These resources are grade appropriate assignments, strong instructions, high expectations, and deep engagement. Kankakee School District invited TNTP here to conduct a review of our district and found that we had high need to improve grade appropriate assignments and the 4 key resources. After our initial scorecard, our district began the partnership with TNTP to develop and monitor the quality of our assignments and instruction and to help all students have access to the 4 key resources. This past spring, we did a follow-up scorecard, and as Dr. Walters mentioned, we saw significant gains. In fact, TNTP said it was the highest spike that they had seen. We showed great improvement. Time that students spent working on assignments increased from 29 to 78%, a 49 percentage point increase. The number of classes using grade appropriate assignments increased from 31 to 82%. This year, we continued the work based on the recommendations made by TNTP after our scorecard. We continued reviewing assignments. We reviewed 658 assignments, with 89.7 of those assignments being on grade level. We focused on strong instruction. We implemented Good to Great in the spring for all of our 7th through 12th graders, all of our 7th to 12th grade ELA and math teachers. Good to Great includes professional learning, observation by TNTP, collaborative planning, and discussion with staff and administrators. We trained administrators on the protocol and the 4 resources. We also strengthened our system for learning by adopting TNTP as our Illinois learning partner. This allowed us to streamline our school improvement efforts. And we developed an observation and student work dashboard, so we had better access to the data and were able to disaggregate it. Next year, we're going to continue to build upon the foundation of grade appropriate assignments and strong instruction, as well as student ownership and deep engagement in the work. We are in the planning stages of the 23-24 school year with TNTP. In June, we will present a proposal to you for continued work with TNTP. This proposal will include key focus areas, summer strategic planning sessions. That will also include coaching our administrators on how to coach our teachers on the learning acceleration framework, district advisory meetings and coaching, Good to Great training for all of our new teachers, 6-12 in ELA and math, with continued coaching and support for all of our teachers, site visits with our school leadership team, and continuing coaching cycles. We look forward to continuing the work and continuing to focus on increasing student achievement through high expectations, strong instructional foundation, grade appropriate work, and deep engagement. Are there any questions?
Mr. Williams?
Yes, at what percentage is the grade level work being taught at?
89.7 right now.
Okay. And how many assignments are they teaching at 89%?
Go back to that slide.
Because that was the problem before. They wasn't teaching enough.
We reviewed 658 assignments. That's a sampling of all of the assignments in the district, but each week administrators review ELA and then math assignments.
Okay. So again, what percentage of the lesson plans are they teaching grade level work? I know they're teaching 89%, but if I got 10 lessons a week, how many is that grade level?
That's actually a good question. I think for next year, we want to go deeper into trying to relieve our administrators so that they can actually get into the classroom and see what's happening in the classroom real time. Now, with our administrators have been doing a lot of subbing, And so our hope is that we can make sure that we have really strong coverage, or we have a team that's not assigned to the building that could go in and actually observe what's happening in the classroom. I don't think we have that data yet.
We do not yet.
Yeah, because that was my concern, that they just wasn't teaching enough. They were teaching at grade level, but they just wasn't giving enough assignments for them to do anything at the end of the year for the state testing. If you don't teach enough, then they're still not going to get it.
The other thing that I have to add that we have to work on with our students is academic stamina. So a student can complete an assignment that takes maybe 10 to 15 minutes, but it's about 40 minutes that they have to concentrate on the state testing.
Up to 90.
Yes. So academic stamina is a problem. I'm just getting students to be able to sit and pay attention for the duration of the actual test.
And that goes from not being pushed enough to do that.
Well, you do have to train academic stamina.
That's what I'm saying. You know, you're not giving them enough to actually train them to do that. That was my question.
We are working on test-taking skills, and that's a part of the requirement for the lesson planning, is that as a part of the instruction, you're working on test-taking skills. And so I think that really honing in more on the test-taking skills will actually help build that stamina that leads to higher test scores. So now that we have all of the assignments at grade level, because you can't pass a test if you're not taught at grade level, then what our goal is to build that academic stamina so they can stay focused enough to take the test.
Yeah, and so that would help when they get to college when it's a little different. If you don't develop it here, then they don't have it because we didn't prepare them. So that's why I was talking about that. All right.
Anybody else have any follow-up questions? Hey, thank you, Ms. Way. I appreciate that information.
And Mr. Savage, we're on finance.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
For finance, we have a request for qualifications for the audit that has gone out, so we're waiting on responses for that. We sent that out to 12 firms across the area. I also have, for finance, the 3 action items that went out to bid since the last board meeting in April, and I can answer any questions on those. We have our band instruments, tables for the cafeteria at the high school, and the chairs for the high school. If anybody has questions on those items, I could answer those.
Any questions? No. Okay, thank you, Mr.
Right.
Savage.
Thank you very much.
Ms. Fountain will report on personnel.
Good evening, Board of Education, Dr. Walters. I just would like to go over our current open positions that we do have in the school district. And we also encourage anyone that knows anyone that would like to teach in the school district for them to please apply in our website for open positions in our district. So the numbers that I have were given to me by the principals. At TAF, we currently have 0 positions open, but there are 2 anticipated openings, so that would leave TAF at 2 positions. At Swain, currently we have 1.5 position. The half position comes from a part-time position. 2 are due to retirement, so there are a total of 3.5 positions that are open. At Edison, there's 1 current position open, 1 anticipated position open, which will give a total for 2 positions. At Steuben, there is 1 anticipated position open, so that would give a total of 1. For LCC, we have 1 anticipated position open due to a retirement, and so that leaves 1 for Lincoln Cultural Center. At King, currently, we have 3 positions open. There are 3 anticipated positions that will be open, so a total of 6. In Kennedy, we have currently 7 positions open with 2 additional anticipated positions, so that will leave Kennedy at 9. At Kankakee Junior High School, there are 10 positions open. We have no data on any anticipated positions that are open, so that would be a total of 10. For Kankakee High School, 9 current positions open. We don't have any information on anticipated positions, so that will leave it at 9. And at Avis, there are currently no positions open, but there are going to be 3 anticipated positions open due to adding some teachers for some classrooms at Avis. So those are the current openings in the school district. And if anyone has any questions for any particular building, because the principals do hire the teachers for the building, we're more than willing to bring up any administrator that you may have a question on about their anticipated or open positions at this time. Does the board have any questions?
Any questions from the board regarding the existing openings? Hopefully soon to be 0, right?
We can always hope.
Just an, I'm an eternal optimist, it's got to work. Anybody else? Okay, thank you, Ms. Fountain.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, that brings us to public comment. We have some folks who would like to make a public comment, and I'm going to do the ritual of reading the admonition. Please give your name and direct your comments to the president. The president will recognize members of the audience who wish to make comments to the board regarding any topics related to school district business. The board will take all comments under advisement without discussion, which means the board will not respond tonight. If a member of the public raises an issue or concern that requires follow-up, the board president or the superintendent will do so in a timely manner. Please give your name and direct your comments to me. The comments are limited to 5 minutes. All individuals are to conduct themselves with respect and civility to others and make no personal attacks. First person who has signed up, if I find it again, Ruben Pavel.
Ruby?
I'm sorry, if the person below you signed it, come on up and have a seat right here. Good afternoon, good evening.
Good evening. I have a question regarding graduation. My grandson was slated to graduate, but he's missing some credits or whatever, but this is my question. Okay, they were supposed to turn in all the assignments today, on Monday, right today. So, okay, so they were supposed to turn them in. So when I was told by Dr. Burns, that they was going for publication for the graduates tomorrow. So if their assignments were supposed to be turned in today, how going to justify who name goes on the list for graduation tomorrow? That's my question as well, you know.
Is there a principal here? Mr. Wilcox, can you? Because graduation is coming up, I know we normally don't respond to public comments, but graduation is coming up pretty soon. Do you mind?
It's fine. No, I think it's fine.
The question is, if the students' assignments are due yesterday, then how do you determine, well, I can answer some of the question because I did have somebody talk to me about it today. They're trying to do an audit tomorrow of all of the students' assignments to make sure that they have everything they need for credits. And so until that audit is done, we can't put the names in the book anyway.
Okay.
And the audit was delayed because of some issues with grading. Okay. And so they haven't started the audit yet. The audit actually starts tomorrow. So actually, once the teachers grade the assignments, and then they will put it into Skyward for the grade, which is our database system, then we'll know which students will be in the program. So your grandson or your
grandson
has time. Okay. I don't know if you want to answer other questions about graduation. Okay. I just actually had someone explain that to me today. Someone at the high school explained that to me today. They haven't started the audit yet. Does that help?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks, Dr. Rose. The next is Marlena Varela.
Yes, the same question, and the same what you just responded. It's frustrating because our students are giving a time and date. It's the adults that are getting it all confused, frustrated. I have a teen, sweet, kind, generous, and he is not. He is a total different individual due to all the chaos from the high school. Sorry. He is a total different student from who he is, who he's supposed to be. And it's frustrating. It's frustrating that I look at him and he's not the kind, loving, sweet kid. Because he's got the adults in his face not being supportive. So it's frustrating. I'm tired of it. He's not graduating. Frustrating, because that's what I wake up to do. Get my child ready, on, home, whatnot. And he's struggling. What is it, 2 weeks away from knowing? Tomorrow we're supposed to know whether he does or he doesn't. And that's not right. That's not fair to the students who are not on track, who are trying, that aren't making it.
Is there anybody else from the high school, stand up high school administration? Mr. Wilcox, can you talk to Mom? Okay. Can you go and talk to Mr. Wilcox so we can get more information, and then we give your phone number, then we can investigate. We'll talk to the high school administration, investigate it, and then we can get back to you.
Right, he was supposed to worry about one subject last week. I get the email, he's got 3 subjects that he is not on for. And he was only supposed to worry about 1. Email comes and he's behind on 3. So yes, it's very frustrating.
Thank you. Next is Aaron Clark.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I just wanted to make a comment with a concern. First I want to commend our school district for all the great work that's taken place in our community. Yeah, I say clap. So I hear over and over again from my peers and even the generation under me that, man, we wish we would have had these things when we were in school. And it's things that are outside of the classroom that support the teachers, support the students, that support the community and the community of people that come around the education system in Kankakee to just make it much better for the community. We all realize it's an uphill battle. And so when a school district or a community has been in disarray or struggling for a long time, and you come to make changes, it can be frustrating. People get anxious, and people get frustrated. And our community, based on a demographic that I had done out of California a while ago, said that the number 2 to finance that people struggle with in Kankakee was hope for the future. So with people struggling with hope, when things don't happen right away, they lose their staying power, just stay the course. So we have people who now are seeing the future with hope from the support programs, just all of the great things, the innovation, just a lot of out-of-the-box thinking that the district has brought into the community, and are starting to look at the community saying, this is where I want to raise my children. This is where I want my children to have their children. I have children that live here now, and they're starting to have children, and I'm excited about what's going on in the district. And I know right now there is a search for a superintendent, and so the concern of people that I'm most closely associated with through the programs that I connect with, they are concerned with whether or not the superintendent will follow that direction from the board to continue these type of programs that are innovative, that support the kids, that are just doing some really, really cool things. When I heard the report from them saying that that the community needs their voice to be heard, that is probably the biggest concern in our community. And I know some of them are here now just because they want to say that we want to be heard. We want to continue to see the support in our community that has been here for us and our children. The impact has gone into the classroom, and especially the piece where they reported that students were learning their role in the process of change in the community. That's been a huge result of a lot of the programs that have been coming around. Is I think a lot of our teachers and our leaders and even our support organizations have been very intentional about helping students see that in the classroom you have a responsibility too. And so without those types of supports and programs and organizations, the partnerships in the community, then the school district kind of will be left on its own to solve a problem that has started to turn the tide on. And so I just wanted to voice that and say we all hope that we continue going in the same direction with the programs. And even though it's hard right now and there are people frustrated and then there are people that's just the way it is when you're changing things. If you're doing new things that are different to people, they're gonna push back. It's strange. It seems strange, and it doesn't change things overnight. You know, you can't turn a train around in a night. I heard it said, when you're changing something big, it's like turning around a ship. You need a lot of space and a lot of time. And so I just want to encourage our board that has been doing a great job in moving the district forward with the support, by supporting community programs and community assets and helping our children in very unique ways to keep up the fight. So we appreciate you.
Thank you. We're going to segue off the agenda for about 2 minutes and say that for informational purposes for the public, we have focused on the recruitment of a new superintendent, and we'll be interviewing some potential recruiters coming up in a couple of weeks. We've winnowed it down from a larger number down to 3, and we'll be interviewing those folks for the purpose of hiring a new superintendent. But that's the update on what we're doing. All right, so we're on to the consent agenda. First of all, are there any questions about any items on the consent agenda? And if not, I need a motion. Actually, I'd prefer a motion to approve the consent agenda, and then we'll.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Gathing. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Johnson. Okay, any discussion regarding any of the items on the consent agenda? If not, please call the roll.
Archie? Yes. Baronis?
Yes.
Gathing?
Yes.
Johnston?
Yes.
Verrett?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Wells?
She's not here.
Boland. Sorry, it's habit.
It's a
habit.
a long time habit. That's okay. I vote yes. All right.
I'm looking right at it, too.
Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to action items. Under G, number 1 is approval of the contract with Elevate for the 2023-2024 school year. And could you give a 2-sentence explanation of what Elevate does?
We're struggling the most with world language, math, and science, which is not new. It's just been exacerbated by the national teacher shortage. And so we're partnering with Elevate, particularly for areas that we cannot cover: world language, a lot of science, and a little bit of the math. So It seems like a very expensive cost to the district, but when I calculated the cost of Elevate to the cost of an actual teacher, it actually is less expensive. Not that we ever want to go to all virtual, because one of the problems that we are having is that if we don't have an adult in the classroom with the students, we talked about academic stamina, we do have to have an adult to help keep the students focused in order to build their academic stamina. We are trying to redesign our Elevate support so that it's in collaboration with the teacher and not a replacement of a teacher. So in order to do that, we need to actually have the partnership with Elevate early so that all summer we can design the instruction so that there's in-person instruction and the support from Elevate. Does that cover everything?
Yeah, thank you. Okay, I need a motion to approve the contract with Elevate.
So moved.
Motion by Gavin, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Williams. Any discussion? Any questions? Any discussion? Any questions? Roll call, please.
Baronis?
Yes.
Gathing?
Yes.
Johnston?
Yes.
Verret?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Archie? Bolin?
Yes. Motion carries. Moving on to number 2, approval of the recommendations of salary increases for the administrators for the 2023-2024 school year. Need a motion by Mr. Gavin to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Who made the second? Thank you. Second by Ms. Johnson. Any discussion, any questions?
Can we combine them?
2 and 3.
Oh, 2 and 3, are you in agreement with that, Mr. Gavin? Okay. Ms. Johnson, are you in agreement?
Yes,
Second?
yes.
Okay, thank you for bringing that up. We're voting on number 2 and number 3. Any other questions? Please call the roll.
Gathing?
Yes.
Johnston?
Yes.
Verret?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Archie? Baronis?
Yes.
Bolin?
Yes. Motion carries. Number 4 is approval to purchase band instruments and accessories. I assume you all received the memo on this particular bid and have the administration's recommending the award the bid to King Music. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion by Gathing, seconded by Ms. Johnson. Any discussions or questions? Mr. Williams?
Can we approve 4, 5, and 6?
No.
No.
They're two different.
I know, I'm trying to get out of here.
I understand that, and I will be as efficient as we can, but I think there's totally different items. So
I know.
I'm not comfortable with that. All right. No other questions? Please call the roll.
Johnston?
Yes.
Verret?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Archie? Baronis?
Yes.
Gathing?
Yes.
Bolin?
Yes. Motion carries unanimously, and motion's approved. Number 5 and number 6, we can approve if you want to make if anybody wants to make the motion to approve those together. It's the best I can do, Mr.
Yeah,
Gold.
well, that's fine.
Okay.
The motion
All right.
to approve 5 and 6.
All right.
To combine 5 and 6.
And a motion to approve also.
Motion approved.
All right. Motion by Mr. Williams, second.
Second.
Second by Deb.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I hear 2 voices, so it's all right. Seconded by Ms. Johnson. Any questions? Any discussion? Okay, please call the roll.
Verret?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Archie? Baronis?
Yes.
Gathing?
Yes.
Johnston?
Yes.
Bolin?
Yes. Motion carries unanimously. Motion is approved. There is no other voting business. We have old business I have to do committee assignments. I asked all of you to volunteer for committees. I received 1 volunteer, so guess what that means? That means I'm going to appoint and ask for your approval to those appointments.
Wait, what?
So I'm asking Mr. Gathing and Ms. Verret if they would serve on the curriculum committee.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm asking Mr. Williams and Ms. Johnston. Ms. Johnston volunteered, but if those 2 would serve on the finance committee. Mr. Williams and Ms. Johnston.
Williams and Johnson.
I heard, but I thought Mr. Gaffing wanted to do the finance.
Mr. Gathing is the chairman.
Oh, okay.
These are the two committee members. And if you recall, we've restructured to the point that
That's great.
there will be 3 board members, and the president will just be there ex officio.
I totally understand now, and yes, my name was already on it, but I.
Okay. All right?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. HR, I'm requesting Ms. Archie and Ms. Baronis to be on that committee. Would you both be willing to do that?
No, thank you.
You don't want to be on the HR committee?
Who else on the demo?
Yes?
Really?
Deb and Ms. Baronis. Okay, thank you. All right, and then policy, I'd like Ms. Archie and Ms. Verrett to serve on policy committee. Would you be willing to do that?
I'm the chair.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Then there are 6 other committees or 6 other appointments that we have to make.
Excuse me, Chris.
Yep.
Who's the chair for policy?
Me.
Chair for policy is Mr. Williams. I'm sorry, I'll tell you their names again. So that means that on the curriculum committee, Ms. Baronis is chairman, and Mr. Gathing and Ms. Verrett are serving as the other board members. For finance committee, Mr. Gathing is chairman, and Mr. Williams and Ms. Johnston are serving as the other board members. HR is Ms. Johnston, and Ms. Archie and Ms. Baronis are serving. Policy, Mr. Williams is chairman, and Ms. Archie and Ms. Verrett are serving. Okay? So moving down further, curriculum, that's the district-wide curriculum committee, correct?
DLT.
DLT.
District Leadership Team.
Okay, district leadership team. Anybody want to be on that? Okay,
Wait, Johnston was already on it. She put her name on there earlier.
See,
there are 2 people in that committee,
Yeah, we
correct?
just need one more.
Okay. So,
When does that one meet?
It meets, once a quarter, in the evening, usually at the high school. It's about 5, 4.
okay, so Ms.
But we
Johnson.
can change the time.
Ms. Johnson has volunteered,
I
I'm
will.
retired.
and Mr. Gathing has volunteered. On the insurance.
Four.
Oh, it's
It
at
meets at
4,
4.
I'm sorry.
That was my fault.
And insurance committee, Mr. Williams, would you be on that?
Yeah.
Such enthusiasm, okay. Head Start policy, Ms. Johnson, would you be on the Head Start policy committee? Ms. Archie cannot.
We gotta check into that. Maybe
Okay.
they changed things.
It was it was 2
yeah,
years.
it was every
Yeah, they talked about it last year, but I got on.
So it's time for another person?
Something was changed.
Somebody new.
Ms.
No.
Powell said that I would say Dr. Powell, prophesying. Ms. Powell said that you don't have to change it? Not yet.
Ms. Archie, would you please serve on the Head Start policy committee?
Yeah, you did.
No, I didn't.
All right, we need somebody to serve on the IASB governing board. Any board member willing to serve in that position?
What does that entail?
Illinois Association of School Boards.
That's the School Board Association, and that's like the district meeting we had here.
The 3 Rivers.
Right.
I'll do that.
Okay, Ms. Johnson has volunteered to do that. We need somebody to serve on the Career Center.
I was doing this, I'll keep doing it.
Okay, Mr. Williams agreed to serve that, and the last is on the Parent Community Council. We need 2,
We need one more.
1 more. You'd said, I'm sorry.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I'll do that one. Yeah.
Okay,
Her
Ms.
name's
Bur-
on there, so Archie, did you say yes for that?
Yes.
All right, so Ms. Archie and Ms. Baronis will serve on that.
Ms. Barone.
Are there any questions about who's been appointed or who had volunteered?
We're gonna get a list, right?
Yes, you are.
Okay.
Are you all in, I need a motion to approve those appointments and volunteers.
So move.
Okay,
Second.
Mr. Williams makes the motion, Mr.
Gathing.
Gathing seconds. All in favor, it's a voice vote. Say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. The last thing we need, and I jumped the adopt a school assignments, and I apologize. So, please state what school you would like, or schools, because there are 11 buildings and 6 of us with me, 7. So what school would you like to adopt? I believe Ms. Johnson said she would adopt, yes.
There's a couple people that signed up.
Okay.
Williams is at the high school, Johnston is at Kennedy and LCC, Gathing is at King, and Verona signed up for Steuben and Progler. So we are missing Edison, Independence Academy, the junior high, Mark Twain, and Taft.
Okay.
It's Independence Academy. You'll take Avis?
You're going to take Avis?
I'll take the junior high.
Okay.
We have two.
I'm going to take Edison and Twain.
Ask them. You got two.
Edison and Twain?
Yeah, I'll take Edison and Twain.
I said, doesn't everybody else have to have two?
Are there any other,
We're missing Taft. We need one for Taft.
need somebody for Taft? Ms. Verrett, would you be willing to take Taft?
Sure.
Okay. Okay.
Is everything covered?
Okay. So that accomplishes that. Information on proposals on the future dates is important. May 22nd is the special board meeting where we will be interviewing the three recruiting companies. No school on May 29th. That's Memorial Day. The official last day of school is June 6th. And June 12th, summer learning starts.
June 12th is also the next board meeting. I got that wrong.
And so June 12th is also our next board meeting.
Graduation?
Graduation of junior high is the 24th.
Yeah, that's the other things I was going to add to the calendar.
Okay, is the 24th of May.
And then
High school is the 25th of May.
Yes.
Any other questions?
Can I add to the calendar?
You can ask
Okay.
anything you want.
Okay. So I also I know that there's always a discussion about prom. So prom is Friday in Mokina. Tuscany is the name of the venue. They're already planning for prom for next school year. And although we have not signed a contract, we're looking at May 10th. And so I know that that's always a concern is when is prom? For next year, the discussion is May 10th. I cannot remember the venue, but we haven't signed. Do you remember the venue? It's in Homer Glen. We've signed it? Okay, so it's official. The prom is on May 10th in Homer Glen.
Next year.
Next year, because that was always a discussion about not getting those dates out. The other thing that we've committed to, because of today, the conflict with the senior awards, is that I've requested that the high school get their dates for the entire year for seniors, including, like, the parents want to know when is the deadline for turning in work. We want that information to go out to seniors in August. And so all of the senior dates we're requesting that everyone see them and they, at the high school, compare the district calendar to the high school calendar. Because of conflict today, in terms of senior awards, we want to make sure that everybody can participate in attending the senior awards ceremony.
I do have another question. I didn't see an invite for the Montessori graduation. When is that one?
I don't know. Is Kim here?
Yes, she is.
So it's May 24th, 10 o'clock in the morning at LCC.
I'll send an invite to everybody.
Okay. Nate. Okay, one other item I have, and that's I would like to compliment the Kankakee High School Band and the Kankakee High School Jazz Band and the Kankakee High School Orchestra for presenting a really fantastic concert. The sounds coming from the band are amazing, and the orchestra is directed by our new director, and he did a fine job of bringing them along, and they sound really good. So if you have the chance, and if there are still some concerts left at the high school, I would encourage you to attend. The kids love to be supported. On that note, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion, second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion. Meeting adjourned.